All right, so far in this section, we've talked about how women act, and to an extent how men act around women, but it's been all actions. Now we're going to go inside the woman's head a little bit and figure out how she can justify these actions. Because if you were to ask most women, do they cheat, they'll look you dead in the eye and be like, no, I'm honest, I don't cheat, that kind of stuff. And they'll actually probably in that moment mean it. Or if you ask a girl, are you a slut? Almost no girl's going to be like, yeah, I'm a slut. A few will, and actually the few that will probably say it proudly, interestingly enough, right? But most would be like, no, I'm normal, I'm whatever, I'm very selective, whatever, okay? Now, how is it that girls can cheat and can do things that would be slutty or can be very promiscuous and yet at the same time look you dead in the eye and be like, no, that's not me, that's not the type of person I am? Or how is it that they could, love a man, go behind his back, cheat with another guy, and then come back and still love that man, right? How is it that they can justify that? Well, there's this interesting thing psychologically that's called cognitive dissonance. And by the way, this isn't exclusive to women. Men do it too, okay? But cognitive dissonance basically is this. You have a particular self-image, an idea of the behaviors that you do and do not engage in. And then maybe you have an action that falls outside of that self-image. Now, this is a problem. This is a problem because there's a conflict. Okay, now at this point you have a choice. You can either pretend the action never happened, which some people do, or you can rationalize some sort of reason why doing that action was okay, which a lot of people do. Or the third alternative is you can have that paradox in your head and it essentially can drive you crazy. Like people actually can be driven crazy by these kind of things. Okay? But the most common solution is to rationalize why. Rationalize why it was okay. So for example, woman cheats on a guy because other guy has better genetics, arouses her more sexually, that sort of a thing. But she'll rationalize it as though that guy doesn't treat me right. Or that guy was being an asshole to me. Or that guy just uses me, etc. She'll come up with some rationalization why it was right or fair or okay. Or for example, maybe she'll be friends with a guy who has a crush on her because, he's helping her out in some area in life, or they're doing business together, or this, that, or the other. And then at a certain point, he no longer has value, or he oversteps or gets a little too sexual with her, and she doesn't want that and cuts him off. Well, she'll rationalize that he was just an asshole the whole time, those sorts of things, because the actions that she's taking are sort of mandatory actions for her survival and success in life, but they contradict this idea that she'd like to fit into. Because again, remember, Madonna-whore dichotomy. She'd like to fit into the Madonna frame, whether or not that's actually true based on her actions. But the way that she will rationalize it is she will come up with some reason. And this is called cognitive dissonance, right? You have perception, you have action, and there's dissonance. You disown that action, either by forgetting it happened or by rationalizing some reason for it. That's why cognitive dissonance is called that. But understand this principle, right? There's a great quote. One of my favorite quotes about women of all time is from the movie As Good as It Gets. This guy's an author. He writes women's novels and whatnot. This fan of his says, how do you write women so well? He says, I think of a man and I take away reason and accountability. That's a very funny line. But it's kind of true in a way, because this cognitive dissonance can sometimes make it appear that women are acting in an unreasonable way and with no accountability. As we go through this course, we're going to talk about what women's actual reasons are and what they are actually accountable to, so that they won't be unpredictable to you, and so that you actually can find out what about them you can trust and what about them you can't trust. But for now, just understand this concept of cognitive dissonance, because a lot of times girls will do and say things that they will lie to your face, and you know they're lying to your face, and you also know they completely believe it, and it's crazy. And the reason they can do it is this cognitive dissonance phenomenon.